People are dialing in, I can share with everyone that we are officially breaking records at ADC for attendance at this event, but really at any event since 2005, the last base realignment and closure round. So that's good news. It's good news. It's going to be a action-packed event. And my goal here today is to really try and walk everyone through what they can expect and really make sure that you get the most out of this. And so we're going to share a presentation. I've invited a few of our leadership from the board of directors to talk about kind of their experiences. They're IIF veterans, and they come at it from different angles. So I think getting their input will be helpful. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. So my name is Matt Borron. I'm the executive director of ADC and the Association of Defense Communities. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that has been around for about 50 years. In fact, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary in 2026. You'll see a lot about that at the Installation Innovation Forum. We've got quite the ambitious agenda leading up to that year. In a nutshell, though, we represent the communities that host active military installations and closed military installations. In fact, closed military installations is how we were started. We were formed by communities who had lost their bases when DoD started closing bases in the 70s. This was before there was even such a thing as base realignment and closure. But over the next several decades, when DoD closed nearly 200 bases here in the U.S., we were the organization that represented these communities that were grappling with economic redevelopment, environmental cleanup, land transfer and reuse, and kind of all of those awful issues. But if you fast forward to today, our membership is almost entirely communities that host active military bases. And so if you point to a base anywhere here in the country, we have a member there, and it's organizational-based membership. So sometimes it's a chamber of commerce, sometimes it's a city, sometimes it's a county, sometimes places have standalone defense alliances or organizations that bring all of the different stakeholders together. But really, our members represent whichever organization there at the local level that has come to take the lead when it comes to military base advocacy and partnership work. And it's really looking at it through that economic development lens, right? And at first it was, you don't want your base to close, but now it's much more forward looking, if you will. It's how do you attract new missions? How do you leverage the installation for more industry investment or defense industry investment? What are you thinking about when it comes to workforce development, quality of life, schools, childcare, housing? But it's also a lot of infrastructure, utilities, and joint land use planning, and all sorts of new issues that come up, cyber, security, foreign investment around military bases, and really everything else in between. And you'll see a lot of that here at this conference, at the Installation Innovation Forum. This event was really meant to be a practitioners conference, if you will, where the communities and installations come together hand in hand to learn about all of the different interesting projects and partnerships happening across the country that might be replicated. So ideas you can steal. And you'll see a lot of that work continues. You'll have over 70 different breakout sessions, all focused on either individual case studies or individual different types of challenges. And you'll get to learn about how different communities and groups are tackling these, and hopefully be able to take some of those ideas home with you as you look at your own installation and community, and really looking at it from that one community perspective, realizing that the base can't solve its issues all by itself, and neither can the community, that they have to be working hand in hand for good outcomes for all. So, Kelsey, next slide, please. So just some important information and resources about ADC. You can find our daily newsletter, which I encourage you to sign up for. It has good stuff on what's happening across the country at the local level. We have an online database where you can look up past presentations, uh, different types of news, reports, research that's been done. It's well organized and could be a good resource for no matter really what you're looking at if it's related to bases and communities. And then 2 and 3 of our events that are coming up, and then some of our advocacy teams and membership councils, which are interested to see how our members are organized to support ADC's mission. Next slide. So before we kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of IIF in terms of what the program is going to contain, to what the logistics are and dress code is, and all of those types of things, I thought it'd be best for you to hear directly from our leadership, 2 individuals who have been engaged with ADC for a very long time, and they can kind of tell you what they've seen are the best strategies for engaging, getting the most out of this event and ADC in general. So with that, Bob, I'll turn it over to you and Jared.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
I'm clear.
Okay, so I'm Bob Ross. I have been on the ADC board for coming up on 10 years now. When I was first appointed by the governor of Connecticut to take this job, I did not know what ADC was. And somebody just randomly came by my office and said, "Hey, there's this organization out there that sounds like they do what you're supposed to do." Uh, and their membership fee was like ridiculously low. So I signed up for it and I went to a conference. And I was completely overwhelmed because I didn't understand what everybody was talking about. They were using phrases and terms that made no sense to me. And I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy, but I felt kind of stupid in this big room with people saying things I didn't understand. So my advice to you is hang in there. And when you're at this conference, you're going to hear a lot of people talking about a lot of things and using language that you don't understand. If you hang in there for 2 or 3 conferences, you're going to start speaking the language. You'll understand it. When you get to this conference, uh, I recommend that you try to partner up with somebody else who's also new, that you can share this experience with as you're going through it. We do have a first-time attendees session where you can actually meet people in person who are new to this. And I think it was one of the smartest things we did to resurrect that, where we invite new attendees to have their own space to talk about things and make some connections. The other thing is the ADC app. You really want to download that. It'll help you stay organized, know where to go, so you don't miss things you want to see. The number one criticism that we get from IIF every year is there was just too much good stuff and I had to make choices and I couldn't see everything I wanted to. So that app will actually help you organize your day and attend the things that you really want to attend. But I'm glad you're all coming. I'm glad to see such a big class of new attendees. And I think you're going to really get a lot out of this. But I just want to make sure you know going into it that um, it might feel like that first day in college when you're a freshman and you don't know where everything is. But there's people around that are happy that you're there and will help you. And you could always seek out a board member if you have questions about ADC. So welcome to the family.
And I'll post Bob's home address and cell phone number and social media handles so you can put it. Jared.
You bet. Well, I think Bob pretty much laid it out there. My name is Jared Wheeler. I'm superintendent of schools in Knob Noster, Missouri, serving Whiteman Air Force Base. I'm on my second term as a member of the board of directors for ADC. And like Bob, I would just mimic that my first few times at ADC, it can be overwhelming and there's a lot going on. But what I can tell you now, years later, is it's very welcoming. I think we have about 100 on the call now, so nearly 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12 attendees right now are going to be new. So you're going to not be alone. Just walk up and introduce yourselves. We wear the nice tags that identify board members, first-time attendees, speakers. The program is exceptional, but I think you'll find it to be very friendly. The hotel flows nicely. It's right on the Riverwalk, so it's built in to be a nice experience overall for not just the conference, but for after conference events. So we're glad you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this event, and seek out, pre-plan, as Bob said. I think you're going to find a very welcoming, friendly group. Our staff hustles all the time, but they never are hustling too much to stop and take time to answer a question. So make yourself at home. We'll try to make you feel welcome. The receptions are great. Are we at the Alamo again this year for a reception, Matt?
One of the receptions will be at the Alamo. Yes.
Okay, so the Alamo, which is great. So be sure to not miss that for your networking. And then last but not least, you're coming in at a great time. Bob mentioned that in 2026, we're celebrating our 50th anniversary as an organization. It is going to be an event not to miss. So get your feet wet at IIF. Come out to DC in the spring and catch our national summit, and then you'll be queued up and ready for all that happens in 26 for our 50th. So again, thank you, and don't hesitate to walk up and introduce yourself to any one of our board members while you're there so that we can put a face with a name.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Kelsey, next slide, please.
Did you do the next slide?
Yep. All right. Did it. All right. So we'll start off on program logistics. So they just mentioned the mobile app. It's available now on the Play Store and whatever else, whatever operating service you use, Android, iPhone. If you go on there and look up ADC Go, you can download it now. It has the map of the hotel. It has the attendee list with contact information where you could message one another. We'll do some daily polling. You'll be able to put questions through there. And it has, again, a place where you can plan your agenda, upload your own bio, upload your headshot. You'll see a lot of attendees do that. You'll find all of the PowerPoints and forum materials on there, and you'll get push announcements each day. So if room changes happen, or if there are other, exciting breaking news, you'll be able to get it through that app. So I encourage you to download that, start planning out your agenda today before you get on site. So I mentioned there are general sessions, and then there are breakout sessions. So general sessions, pretty common. It's where everyone's going to be in the same room at the same time, listening to the same thing. These are really our high-level speakers, all of the general officers and other big foreheads, smart folks that we have that have brought in on a wide range of topics. But then over 70 breakout sessions. And as Bob said, this is where people tend to get mad at us because there is a lot of great content on here. The military services themselves put together almost half of the agenda. And they do this on purpose, and they like to do it jointly. So a lot of these panels are joint service and feature installations from South Korea to Germany to right here in San Antonio or in the DC area where I'm located, and everywhere else in between. So, people yell at us, but I always say, well, you got to bring more people next time, divide and conquer. But I think you'll see we try and break that up by topic. So there's not too many topics that are the same in the same breakout space. But you'll also be able to kind of rack and stack by category. Each of these sessions we've grouped under a separate bucket, whether it's installation resilience or energy and water or quality of life. So you'll kind of be able to see the different types of tracks that are available there. Meals at IIF. We will not be serving lunch. So both days, lunch will be on your own. We break for a good hour and a half. There's a lot of great places in the hotel and restaurants surrounding the hotel. We encourage you to use this as kind of networking time. A lot of folks like to schedule their meetings over these, this lunch hour. We will be serving breakfast on Tuesday and Wednesday, so you can come and take part in that. Receptions. So there will be 2 receptions. The first reception, Monday night, this is just our opening general reception. It'll be there at the hotel, hors d'oeuvres, open bar, It's a good time, lasts about an hour, and I think you'll have a lot of fun there. I'll talk about the Tuesday evening reception at the Alamo here in a little bit on the next slide. But before we get there, I want to talk about dress code. So we always say business casual. About half of the attendees ignore me and come in business formal. So it's really up to you. You'll see all sorts. So I don't think you need to overthink it too much. If you're DoD or military service, if you're attending the conference, we say uniform of the day. The different commands have made it clear, though, that if you're speaking, they expect you in Class A's or dress blues, depending on your service. I was Army, so I only know Class A's. I'm not quite sure what you other folks call it. Next slide, please. So these are the different types of program components that I think really stand out and that you should familiarize yourself with. The one is the new attendee meeting that Bob mentioned. So this will be on that very first day, bright and early at 7:30 in the morning. You'll get an invite to that as a new attendee. You'll get a link, some room information. Breakfast will be served at this particular meeting, but it's just for new attendees. And just so you have some time where you're not scrambling trying to find a breakfast burrito that morning. So we'll have some board members in there. We'll do a brief kind of welcome introduction, but it's really meant to sort of build your new cohort and build a group of individuals that you could experience this conference with. But it's always very highly rated. So I certainly hope that you'll be able to attend that. The military service pre-conference town halls. So these are on the agenda. These start off at 8 a.m. and they'll run from, probably to 11:30. They're broken up by Army, Department of Navy, which includes the Marine Corps, and then Air Force, Space Force. So these town halls were put together completely by the services. They've organized these, they've built the agenda. We simply give them the room. You are free to attend any and all of them. They're wide open to all attendees, but this is what the services view as their opportunity to get out their messaging and really hit their high points with their senior leaders before their senior leaders are overwhelmed with meetings and other events at the rest of the conference. So this is always a very, very popular time. So I hope you can make it to that as well. I mentioned the reception at the Alamo. So the reception is part of what we call our Great American Defense Communities program. This is a program we run every year. It's a competitive nomination program by which communities apply to be recognized as a Great American Defense Community. And it's based on the things that communities do to support quality of life. So each year we have dozens of communities apply. It goes through a very selective process, and ultimately we choose 3 communities this year to recognize with this designation. We're almost up to 50 communities in total that have been recognized over the past 10 years. And it's been quite an adventure. And so you'll see at the conference, we'll have videos. We've sent out teams to film and interview folks at these communities. We'll have a magazine that'll include in-depth articles on different programs and things that are happening at each one of these places. Ellsworth Air Force Base, Rapid City, South Dakota, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and Elizabeth City, and the Elizabeth City Coast Guard Base for the selectees this year. So at the event in the Alamo, we'll have food and drink from each of those regions. Each of those communities will have special exhibits and displays set up, and it's going to be a great time. And they're really proud of what this designation. A lot of times they're painting it on the water towers at their bases. They're hanging the flags downtown, and you'll get to see all of that in the past winters as well. So check out this link. We'll make this PowerPoint available, and you can really see what this program is about. But you'll learn a lot more about it at the event. The second thing I want to highlight for everyone is our Military Spouse Community Leadership Initiative. This is new to ADC, and this will be our second year running this new initiative. What we found over the past 5 or 6 years is that a lot of more and more of our programming is tending now to focus on quality of life issues, as that becomes more and more important to DoD, and they start including it in their basing decisions. Our communities have also started to rally and try to figure out how they can support quality of life efforts. But at past conferences and in ADC in general, we're at our history has always been in economic development and land and infrastructure. And so when we had our communities and our base leaders together at this conference trying to talk quality of life, it occurred to us that maybe we were missing a voice at the table, and that maybe installations and communities were missing a voice at their local leadership frameworks as well. And that would be of the military family or the military spouse, who was often the one who deals with these quality of life issues on a day-to-day basis. And so starting last year, we reached out to Ms. Shireen Brown, wife of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Brown, Patty George, wife of General George, Army Chief of Staff. And I asked for their help in setting up a new initiative by which we could select a group of spouses from each of the services to attend the Installation Innovation Forum and our other event as a cohort, hand in hand with their community and installation counterparts. And we come up with a special agenda for them throughout, where they're meeting people, they're getting engaged. And ultimately, our hope is that they become new defense community champions and become part of that local leadership framework, advocating for their base, advocating for the quality of life and the men and women living there. So you'll see these individuals. We did a competitive nomination process this time by which communities had to nominate military spouses. We had 63 nominations. We did not expect that much. So it was tough, but we selected 12 that will be attending, representing all branches of service. They'll have special pins. We'll introduce them to the audience. But I hope that you'll be able to meet with these individuals and welcome them as they'll be first timers as well. So I encourage you to visit the link. You can check out their bios, see who's coming, see what this program entails, and what our goal is ultimately at the end. Next slide. Here's some important read aheads. So as Bob and Jared said, you're going to be hearing a lot of things that may not sound, that may be very foreign. The IGSA. Okay, you're going to hear IGSA all day long. That refers to something they call the Intergovernmental Support Agreement. It's the Intergovernmental Support Authority. Okay, this is an authority that was created about a decade ago. It was ADC legislation that we were able to get passed in Congress. It allows bases and communities to contract with one another for a whole manner of services, public works, water, bus transportation, you kind of name it, bulk purchasing. I encourage you to check out the link, read about what the authority does, and read about the over 200 agreements now in place across the country. And they keep growing each year. So this is going to be a big focus of this conference. There's a lot of new agreements and interesting things happening. So I encourage you to check that out. Each of the services runs their own program shop. The Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, old CC, is the term that you'll hear. This is the organization within DoD that was stood up essentially at the same time ADC stood up 50 years ago. Its mission originally was to help communities where their bases had closed. It was intended to help them recover from that. And now, though, its mission, just like ADC, has evolved. And now most of its mission is supporting active base communities and installations with various different types of grant programs. So the Defense Community Infrastructure Program, or DCIP, which is another program ADC was able to get passed through legislation that allows DoD to provide matching grants to state and local governments for infrastructure located off base, but that somehow supports the mission of families of the base. The Community Noise Mitigation Program, Military Installation Resilience Program, and dozens of others. Go to that website, oldcc.gov. They're going to be here in force. I just got off the phone with them. They're bringing out 30 different people, all program managers from across the country, whose entire job is to connect communities and bases and support them with different resources. So check out that website. It's truly impressive. A new legislative proposal. This is something ADC is working on that we're hoping to get some support behind and feedback on at IIF as we look into the National Defense Authorization cycle for 2026. So check it out. It talks about it. We think this is a way by which DoD and communities can partner on quality of life efforts. So please follow the link, and again, provide any feedback or thoughts or support as you start to think about this and how it might apply to your own community or base. Okay, next slide. Key points of contact. This is probably one of the most important slides in this deck. So each of the services has a dedicated liaison. They have more than one dedicated liaison, but these are probably the key folks that can connect all of the different offices for their respective service or the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. These folks will be on site, they'll be on the ground, they can help you schedule meetings, they can help answer questions, and they're invaluable as you move forward into this space. They will become, I think, some key advocates and connections for you. So reach out to them based on who you think would be most appropriate. And of course, Kelsey Judd, our director of ops, who makes everything happen and all the trains run on time. Kelsey, raise your hand. She'll also be on site, and you'll see her running around. Feel free to enlist her help as well. And I think that's it. So we're really kind of out of time, but I'm happy to kind of stay on. I don't think they're going to kick us off. If folks have questions right now, we will post the PowerPoint. Can we post it to this group now, Kelsey? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, I will send out the presentation and also a link to this recording after the call's over.
And I think we had a question in the chat if we could get a copy of the draft on the new program.
Oh, the Defense Community Support Program. Sure. Kelsey, you want to include that report in that email as well?
Yes, no problem.
You can find that online on our website. So the link from the PowerPoint will go there as well.
And Matt, while other questions are coming in, I would be remiss if I didn't extend a special invitation for any or all of you to bring along your local defense community school superintendent or superintendents. We have a lot of information that will be tailored to military child education. We have MSEC with us. We have members of the defense school or state liaison office here. And if you go out to lunch and you slip, trip, and fall into the river on the Riverwalk, there's no better person to pull you out of the river than your superintendent. They would be a great partner to help you out there as well. So jokes aside, we would love to see more school related officials in our organization. We have a lot of content in that area.
That's a good point. Thank you, Jared. Okay. Bob, Kelsey, am I missing anything?
No, I think we've covered all the bases here. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the new attendee session on Monday morning.
Okay. Well, you have my contact information as well. Don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll see you all here in a couple of days.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody.